Hello everyone, Manny here, and today we're outlining perks that help in survival mode endgame. This is only my opinion based on tons of hours of playing survival mode in the base game and also playing a couple of modded quest lines in survival mode. This is not a start build. Realistically, you should only be getting these perks once you've gotten all your combat relevant perks. So if you need a guide for starting, I recommend my survival mode rifleman build. For me, the additional damage plus the ability to craft weapons and equipment made my time in survival mode much easier. Yes, you can go out and buy equipments, remove the mods and put them on your weapons, but there's no fast travel, so that's a lot of walking. And when you're like level 3 and level 5, that walking can get deadly, especially when you have to save at a bed. So there are no order for these perks, as you're probably gonna want to get them when you can get all of the ranks of the perks. Ranks 1s and 2s really don't do too much as the ranks 3, 4s, and 5s. So again, I would wait until I have all my combat related perks taken care of before I go off into these new perks, which honestly help to balance modded quest lines and heavy engagements in the end game of survival mode. The first perk we're going to talk about is Leadbelly. The first rank of this perk lowers the amount of radiation taken from food and drink. The second rank lowers the amount even further, and the third and final rank negates radiation from food and drink entirely. Now, I know a lot of people online talk about this being slightly useless, considering with Radaway, purified water kind of everywhere, and even I have said that. But what I didn't take into account is modded quest lines, and basically those quest lines not being balanced for survival mode. I take in case one point was Fusion City Rising didn't have too many food items. It had a lot of purified water, but it had a lot of food items that were like old world food items. And you know, when your belly starts grumbling, you gotta eat something. Maxwell's World, there's no purified water there. I mean, you can eat the cursed food, but that's kind of redundant, you know what I'm saying? So what I found is that being able to drink whatever I want and eat whatever I want made it a lot easier for modded quest lines. The next perk we're going to talk about is Med. Increases restoration of hit points from stim pack and removable of radiation damage from Radaway. So basically, we're not really talking about the first 3 ranks, we're talking about the 4th rank. Medic cuts the time in half for Radaway and stim packs to work. And basically when you're playing in survival mode and your health drops, you need that health back immediately. It's easy to take cover, wait a few seconds, and get some health back. But if you wait for normal stim pack regeneration to kick in, you kinda end up in a bad situation. And then another thing you can do is get the companion Curie and get her ultimate perk, and that actually increases it even more. So by the time you have rank 4 plus Curie's perk, you're healing about at the same rate as regular stim packs, which is invaluable because you don't want to take too many stim packs. But more importantly, you don't want to have to take more than 1 Radaway because of the increased immunity damage. The next perk I want to talk about is Strong Back. Now, I don't want to spend too much time on this perk because I've actually dedicated 2 videos to this with the always over encumbered build. I find it invaluable for the really high level, namely because when you do modded quest lines, you tend to want to bring your own weapons with your own ammunition. I've been in a few quests where I actually could not purchase ammunition, so whatever I brought with me was all I had. So I needed every additional amount of weight necessary to keep moving. The next 2 perks is also something that I've been reading online, and people say that they're kind of worthless and they don't work too well. They work in survival mode, and that's Ghoulish, rank 4, and Life Giver, all 3 ranks. So when you combine the 2 perks, what ends up happening is that your chip damage and small amounts of radiation, it just melts away. And what that does is it keeps you from having to take Radaway. Now, in the base game, you can chug Radaway all day. It's not going to do anything to you. But in survival mode, taking rad away can kill you. Namely, it hurts your immunity, but it also makes you sleepy. So I'm reminded of a time when I was deep in the glowing sea, and I was constantly having to pop rad away to keep my radiation back. And what it was doing was I eventually couldn't move because I was so tired. I actually had to sleep in order to be able to move again, because if you don't, then it kind of makes you have to walk. So to me personally, rank 4 of Ghoulish with Life Giver was almost overpowered, because namely I could kind of do whatever I wanted. When I wanted to swim across the ocean, I just swam. By the time I made it to my destination, most of the radiation was gone. And what's really cool is that because we have Life Giver, which replenishes HP, and Ghoulish rank 4, which decreases your radiation but also replenishes the HP, your HP comes back really fast. A lot faster than I had originally realized. So these two perks, a great combination, especially in modded quest lines. And the last perk I want to talk about is just maxing your endurance stat. Now, as you guys probably know if you've watched any of my other commando and rifleman builds, basically I don't really do endurance in the beginning of the game, namely because when you're such a low level, having a high endurance really isn't going to do anything for you. You're still going to die in 1 to 2 shots depending on what type of armor you have. And that's namely because you're not a high enough level to really take benefit of all the additional hit points that the endurance perk gives. And if you guys don't know, it is retroactive, which means that I can go back and get all the ranks. You know, if I'm level 60 and I go back and get the ranks, I'll end up with the same amount of HP as I would have if I would have taken it all the way back at level 10. And basically what that does is it lets you take more hits, more shots, plus combo it up with some really nice armor, and you kind of nerf some of the harder zones in survival mode. What it really came into was in modded quest lines, because again, a modded quest line is not balanced the same way that the normal game is. So damage percentages are really strange, and you already have your survival mode damage output and damage input, but some of those enemies actually have a higher damage than they're supposed to have because the modder thinks that you're gonna go in there in the normal game overpowered. I'm kind of reminded of Sparky's Quantum Adventure, and basically what would happen is you would go inside the building and all hell would break loose, and there's tons of people, tons of enemies with full-on line of sight of you. There's zero cover, and if you're not prepared in survival mode, you'll die over and over and over. Before I understood about trying to be overpowered with my action points and my hit points, I had to use Psychojet to get through those phases, and that's just because there were so many enemies. So in my opinion, I feel like it's really good, especially if you do what you're supposed to do and wait until you have all your combat relevant perks. Then these perks are just kind of like the icing on the cake, just to keep you moving and make your adventure much easier. And there you go, those are the perks that I feel help to make the end game of Fallout 4 survival mode much easier. Also, it helps with modded content. This is usually not balanced for survival mode, i.e. Maxwell's World's lack of purified water and non-cursed food will really hurt you in the long run, considering the problem with weight management in survival mode. But as always, what do you guys think? Put it down in the comments below. Let me know what other perks you guys feel are relevant to our survival out there. It's been about a year, so I'm thinking about amping up the survival mode and trying to check out some of these modded quest adventures. But as always, we got to get ready. So thanks for watching. Take care, guys.